What does it look like to keep running in your 70s? Not just occasionally, but consistently. Over decades, through injuries, through life. Welcome to the podcast if you've never been here before. If you've been here, well, you know how this goes. Every episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast starts with me out on a run. I just did some great hills and I thought I'd sit down for a second and record this intro. But I'm out on the run, not in the studio, not behind a desk microphone, but out on the run, moving. Today, we're talking to Gail Leedy, 72 years old, over 100 races, and she's still running, and she's still getting after it. That's what the podcast is about. It's about resilience and consistency and still showing up no matter how old you are. Gail lives that. Marathons, ultras, 100-mile races. She shows up for all of it, and she keeps showing up. Her favorite distance, 50 Ks. It's like a sweet spot. Many. And right now, she's dealing with a broken foot. I mean, a bad break, and she's a great storyteller. And so I'm really glad you're here to hear and see her. This is a YouTube first podcast, so it's video first, because you really get to see the laughter, and that's my favorite parts on the video. And we drop the episodes Sundays at noon, so hopefully you're chilling, reflecting, enjoying a Sunday afternoon. But just in case you're out there running a long run on Sunday mornings, we put the audio versions of the episodes up at 5 a.m. every Sunday morning. If this resonates with you, subscribe to the YouTube channel and share the content. It really helps. And if you have a guest idea for an episode, send along the information. We read all the mail, and that's really how all of these episodes come together, including Gail. And that's what makes it special. So I think, even though I'm not running, I think it's time. It's time for Gail Leedy. Let's go. Welcome to another episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast. I'm Mark Vega. Gail Leedy is with us today. She's a New Mexico treasure. Yeah, I bet people say that. Gail, thank you for joining me this morning. Nice to see you.
It should be fun. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. I saw you on a documentary, I think, doing a Mount Taylor 50K. It looks like of all the races you've done, 130 some races on Ultra Sign Up. You've done Mount Taylor quite a few times. How old are you today as we record?
I am 72.
Oh, that sounds so good, Gail.
Yeah,
One of the things. Go ahead.
It's kind of scary to realize I'm 72, but.
When did you start having that? When did you start making that comment to yourself? You know, when you were sick, did you say at 60, like, oh man, how can I be 60?
I did, but it didn't really. 70 was a big one. And it's just, well, the story is recently that I was in an emergency room and I looked down at the little wristband that they put on you and it said 72. And I'm like, oh man, I'm 72. So kind of, how did that happen? Kind of came as a surprise, even though I know it.
Wow. So it made it very real because it's on your wrist, right? It's on your wrist. Wow. You were, when maybe you just answered this question, but so when someone comes back to you and says you're 72 and you're still doing this, meaning running, does that surprise you when people say it, or does it ever do you ever surprise yourself when you think about that?
Not really, because it's been pretty seamless. I mean, it's only one day older each day. So as long as I can still do it, I'm going to be doing it. It does get a little interesting when you see that you're the only person over 60 in a race, or the only woman over 60. There are more men than women, but it kind of hits home. But
Well, you've been doing this for a long time. I tried to pull up your ultra sign up, and it looks like in your 40s, you did a marathon, a trail marathon. Oh, I should ask you this first. Do you also run road races?
Very seldom. I might run one or two. I run the little social road races, but I don't think I've done a road marathon for probably 4 years. And I did that one because my daughter-in-law wanted to run it with me.
Okay. Well, that's a good reason. That's a good reason. I pulled up the first race I could see, the Rockin' K Marathon in Kansas, 26 years ago, April 2000. But you finished first in your age group, and so what if you recall that very first race, or trail race that got recorded and you won? And before that race happened, did you have an understanding of what age groups meant, or when you finished that race, you're first in the age group. Did that mean anything at that moment? Do you
It
remember?
did because I'd done a bunch of road races up until that point. So I was used to the road races, but that was my first trail marathon. And, there weren't that many of us out there. It was a great race. It was so much fun. And I was just starting to go into the trail running. In Kansas, there weren't that many yet, but I was hooked once I did that one. I said, okay, this is going to be fun. I'm going to do trail races instead of the road races. So,
Okay, so at 46, too, if you're running street marathons, street runs, the age group would have been 46 to 49. So you would have been the first in that split. But even then, though, trail races, it's 10 years of worth of a age group, not 5, right? So that had to be pretty cool. You finish like, oh, I'm going to like this. I'm first in the category. I'm getting back out there. That's pretty good. Yeah.
that's a, it was a great race. It rained the night before. Actually, a friend and I slept on the floor of a Presbyterian church close to the race start. And it rained so hard that the next day we had some little stream crossings that weren't little. They were chest high. And we had fences we had to go over. It was just a really cool race. And this is so much more fun than road racing.
Wow, what an adventure. I mean, if that's the first experience you had, yeah, I can see you saying, "Oh, I'm all in. This is insane." Right? Why did you sleep at the church just for convenience, or was that what everybody did, or what was that about?
It was just for convenience. The person I was who talked me into doing that race was, I think, a Presbyterian minister, and he says, "Hey, I can get us some cheap digs for the night. You want to go?" And I said, "Sure." And first we did we were kept awake for a little bit by the AA meeting that was going on, and then after that it got very nice and quiet. It was fun.
Nice, nice. I think you must have been so when you're blessed into your first experience. It would be hard not to compare every other race to that experience, right? So,
Right.
did you do that one again? That's in Kansas, but did you do that one again? That Rockin' K Marathon? No.
I did not. That was my only time. I was going to do it then at one other time, and things didn't work out. And then I moved to Laramie, Wyoming, and started getting in with the trail running group there. And that really solidified my switch to trails.
Helm Mountain Run, Silent Trails. You're in your late 40s. I see that 10 miler. Talk to me about the start of it. How did you start running? And this is not a biography, but how did you start running, and how did you find yourself even making that switch in your 40s to say, "Oh, I've always run, but this is fun." You discovered something in trails that you hadn't discovered before. So talk a little bit about how you started running and how you got yourself to discovering the trails.
So, being a 70-year-old woman, I didn't have many opportunities to run. High school, there were no women's sports at all, no girls' sports at all. I went to college, and my senior year in college was the first year they had women's track. And I was a senior when they started the women's track. And there were a bunch of freshmen that wanted to get a track team going for the women. and they needed some older people, seniors. So I started running then just to help them get the team started.
Where were you on the earth? Where? By location?
I was in Ohio, a small school at Ohio Wesleyan University. And so I was on the inaugural women's track team there. I wore cut-off blue jeans as my running shorts and had a T-shirt, and that was about it. But
what was your event, if you remember?
The quarter mile, which is not a good event for me because it takes me at least a mile to get warmed up. But I did it, and it was good, and started running a little bit then, but didn't really get back into running until I was a mother. And I had been a bicycle racer for a while, put that aside because you can't really do that and be a single mom. So when my son got old enough to start running with me, we go out to run together. He started running cross country for a little local team, and I started running with him, and that got me into running for real. So.
And he was running on the grass, right? Cross country, right? Running in fields and whatever, right? Where was that? Was that all still in Ohio? Where was that?
Still in Ohio. Yes. So I kind of credit him for getting me into it for real.
What has changed in your running over the years, or what has not changed? Like once you got into it for real, what did that even mean?
Well, I started doing the local 5Ks and 10Ks.
Did you race with him? Did he run those races with you?
Yes, he did. He would run 10Ks, up to 10K with me, and he would leave me in his dust, which is how it should be. And let's see. I didn't. Somebody threw down the gauntlet. Actually, it was a guy who had been my neighbor growing up, and he said, "So you think you're a runner?" I said, "Yeah." You ever do a marathon? I said, "No." He says, "Come on, let's do the Columbus Marathon next year." So we trained and started the Columbus Marathon together, and at about mile 18, I said, "See ya, I'm out of here." And
how old were you at that time?
I was 38. 38. So I did that when I qualified for Boston.
Not at that race. Not at the 18. You walked off at 18 miles, and then you did it later.
No, I ran off and left him. He couldn't keep. I'm tired.
Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you for that clarification. You smoked him. You kept going. Okay.
I smoked him.
Much different story. Sorry. I'm glad I asked. Okay. All right. So how was that? How did you feel about that? Like first he laid down the gauntlet.
Yes. I think he was very shocked to see that I would be able to do that, but good for him. He kept doing it for a few more years, and we've lost touch, of course, but that was
at that time start. We have newspapers and some magazines, and the media landscape is very, very different. But when you signed up for Columbus, did you train for it? And then when you did you have the eye on the prize, meaning you wanted to qualify for Boston?
No, I hadn't thought about Boston. That was kind of crazy thought. I normally trained about 8 minutes a mile, and I thought if I could just maintain that, I would qualify. But mainly, I just wanted to smoke him. I mean, we had always been competitive. My next door neighbor growing up, he was a boy. He got to do everything. I was a girl. I didn't get to do anything. So it was really fun. It was fun to train with him, but it was also fun to beat him.
As you get into your 40, you were 38 or 39 or 40 at that time, something like that?
Right. So
wow, that can be
I had qualified for a 40-year-old age group at Boston because of the time of year. it's a year out and my birthday and all that. So I didn't go when I was 39. I went when I was 40 and did Boston and thought it was pretty fun. And by that time I was living in Kansas and there was a big group of road runners and I ran with them a lot. That was a big social group, big running group. We traveled together. We did a lot of fun things together.
Was running at that point then one of your main social kind of outlets?
It definitely was because, again, I'm a single mom. I'm working. I was doing so being able to run. My son ran with the group a lot of the time too.
What was your work? What was your job or work?
I was a professor of social work.
Wow. Okay. You're doing good deeds. That's good. And understanding that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to prepare students to go out into the world and do good. Good.
Was running, what kind of an outlet did running provide? And then social connection, that's for sure. Did you have did you have an understanding of what fitness meant to you? Like in your body? Was running an important piece of you owning that thing at the time, like your fitness awareness?
Well, fitness was part of it, but more about being able to take care of myself, being pretty independent. And even though it was a social group, I was still pretty independent, knowing that I was going to be okay. You know, if the car broke down, I was going to be able to get to where I needed to go, that sort of thing. And that's always been one of the most important parts is knowing that I can take care of myself. And as I get older, that becomes even more important.
At the time that you started running in Kansas and were connecting with that running group, were there how often did you come across single moms who were also trying to run in that same universe of things? Because that's a very unique, not unique, and it happens all the time, but in my head, there's some level of, at the media landscape at the time and the way we connect with each other, we might not find our tribe or our people or, people you can relate to so easily. So at that time, did you connect with other single moms? Was that ever a part of your, running?
Not really. Not really. My life was pretty much taking care of my son, running and working. We had some really good runners on that group on that club. A couple of really good women runners, and they were close to my age, but they kind of took me under their wing and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to train for Boston. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it was really nice to have them.
Is that how you learned about Boston and the whole universe of marathoning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
how many times you ran Boston? At least that one time. Have you run it a couple of times, or what's your marathon story?
Twice. The second time. And it's funny because when I moved to Wyoming, there were so few people in Wyoming. There are only 500,000 people in the whole state. And I got used to running on trails. I went strictly on trails and almost never on roads. And I would go out for hours at a time and not see another person. So when the thought of going back to Boston where there are so many people and being put in corrals and that the large marathons really lost their appeal. And it was strictly about trail running from then on. And my first ultra was in Wyoming. It's called the Bighorn.
Bighorn Mountain Wild and Scenic Trail Run. Now that's a name.
Yes.
That
and it
June 2004? Was that the one? June 2004 looks like. Okay.
The 50K. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
How'd you decide to go there? You'd run a handful, including went to Ouray, Colorado, do the Imogene Pass run. There's a lot of mountainous, a lot of stuff you did. How'd you decide to do the 50K?
I hadn't been up into the Bighorns yet. And, I'm sure I'm sure somebody talked me into it. But it was wonderful. I loved it. It was such a fantastic run. It's a race I've gone back to many times. And I've done the 50 and the 50K, 50 mile, and 100 miler there. And it's a small town. They put it on to raise money to keep that area kind of wild and scenic. And it's a big fundraiser. The whole town comes out at the finish, and they're all there in this little park. And it's just the aid stations are wonderful. It's a small town vibe in a huge mountain setting. It doesn't get much better.
Is Wyoming, because it's so small, when there are races in Wyoming, do people travel from all over the state to get there? Or
Yes, they come from all over the Mountain West, really, for a race like that. A lot of people, like the marathon folks that want to do a marathon, 50 states marathon, they'll come out to they have to go to Wyoming sometime. So, and there aren't that many marathons there, so you get people from all over the country.
and how long did you stay in Wyoming?
I was there for about 9 years. And it's a different place. I can tell you a story about one of the first times when I moved there, and I'm like, oh, great, there are all these trails. Like, then you didn't have the phones, you didn't have anything. I had a little map from the Forest Service that says this is a trail. And so I started going out. I took a wrong turn. I think it was just me that day. Well, I know it was just me. I might have had a dog, but I don't think I had a dog at that time with me. But I didn't have any water, and just a short little shakeout run. Took a wrong turn, got lost, kept going on trails, couldn't find my way back. Yeah, we're hitting about 10 miles at this point. I'm thinking I've got to find my way back at some point. And I heard horses, and I thought, well, horses usually mean that there's people around. So I followed the sound of horses and kept taking this trail down. Finally came out to a road, and it's a huge group of people with horses and stuff. And I go up to one of them and I said, hey, where's the Happy Jack trailhead? And they started laughing at me. And I didn't think it was very funny at that point.
Yeah.
So I told him, look, I'm really lost. Can you help me out? And it turns out that they were a search and rescue weekend seminar, a 3-county. So all these search and rescue people are like, oh, wait, we've got one. We'll get credit for this one. And they sit me down. They do a physical assessment. They give me water. They give me food. I'm like, yes, but how do I get back? They drove me back to the trailhead. But it gave me a nice little lecture. They said, you're new to Wyoming. This is different than Kansas. You're not in Kansas anymore. You're going to have to be very careful. You're going to have to learn your way around because you can die out here. And that was a real serious moment for me. And it's played out now later in my life because I'm very much involved in search and rescue. So.
Okay. You fiercely independent, no animals with you, had a little bit of whatever you were water, whatever you're drinking. It's really a good story to know that you stumbled. I've never heard a story about people stumbling upon a search and rescue convention, or whatever weekend.
They really thought that I knew what they were, and I was just kind of joking around with them. And I'm like, I'm really getting kind of pissed here.
Yeah, like you were like, they thought you were a plant to treat,
Yes.
Oh, look, we got one. Let's wrap her up. Is she bandaged?
Yeah.
Does she need... What was the end of the story? How did you get back? Did they point you in the direction, or did you get on a horse?
It was a long drive back, but they drove me back. And I took their advice to heart, and I was always very careful after that. I had many, many more adventures in Wyoming. For falling into beaver, breaking through ice and stuff like that. I've done a lot. I'm kind of accident prone.
You mentioned that I saw even in the documentary, even you had a comment, or they kept it in the doc in their final edit, that you made some kind of reference to that. But stick with it, fiercely independent. How many of your trail races that you've done, so many, and all your training, and in general, are you alone, or do you train and run with people? Or you see, how have you, over the years, you end up running with people all the time, or no?
Not much. I usually run by myself. I usually get together with a friend or two once a week, but the other days I'm by myself. And now I'm always with my dogs. I have dogs.
I find I don't have enough data, I suppose, to have any feelings about that. Though my gut tells me, and this is maybe my own confirmation bias, because I'm not in the country somewhere, but for convenience purposes in my life, it's just easier for me to get out there on my own. And
Right.
I love to run with people, and I love that part, but it's the logistics and coordination it doesn't serve me.
Right.
And,
And that's true for me. And you have to match schedules and paces and all of that. And I really enjoy it. I have one friend that I still run with quite a bit, a couple of friends that I still run with quite a bit, but not on a regular basis. If we get out once a week or once every 2 weeks, that's good. But I also really like my solitude. So it's extremely important to get away from everything that's going on.
Yeah, I agree. I understand that. I can relate to that. And sometimes when I'm out there, when I'm on the trails, I don't put I'm not listening music, not listening to anything when I'm on the trail.
Never.
On the street, I do actually. On the street, I listen to a metronome or some music that has a particular cadence, because I'm trying to get strong. I'm very intentional about what I'm doing. Or occasionally listen to a podcast if I can speed it up or somehow contribute to my running. But when I'm out on the trails, nothing. And it's not because I'm trying to get away from anything. For me, it feels, do you experience this? For me, I'm not running away from something. I'm running to something, because I know, well, part of that solitude on the trail and that me time, whatever that means, is really important. So it's not because I feel like I'm escaping from something. It's like what I'm looking for is not here. It's there. And I get there.
And I think that's what I meant by getting away from everything. You can't have that solitude when there are all these other things going on. But when you're out on the trail, I mean, and I really think, at least for the senses, being able to feel what's going on, not just my body, but the cold or the hot is important to me. Listening to what's going on around me, smelling the smells and seeing everything. You can't do that when you have all these other distractions.
As you discovered trails, did that element of things change? Like, did you first go out there and maybe listen with music or run with people, and then discover at some point when, oh no, I'm getting some sustenance from being out there on the trails?
I think it was right off the bat. First time I started running on trail, I never used music anyway. But to be able to be in that space at that time, whatever it was, hot, cold, it doesn't matter. It's what's going on, and that's where I wanted to be.
And when we look at your races over time, it looks like, well, you've done all kinds of distances, but you certainly you have a lot of 50Ks in your experience, starting, I guess, with that one in Wyoming. So you have a lot of 50K distances. Is that a sweet spot in any way for you? Is that a favorite? Or how did you come to do a lot of 50Ks?
So they're more manageable. You can do, I can't do back-to-back 50 milers or 100 milers. It takes me a lot of time to recover. The 50K is manageable. It's kind of like a marathon distance. You can do it again and again. I like the 50 milers. And I wanted to experience some 100 milers, so I did. But the 50K is just, it's my bread and butter, I guess.
Well said and understood. I only understand these things now the more I listen to people like you and I reflect on those things, like, oh yeah, it makes sense. A 50K is a sense, you still get a sense of you can get it done. You get it done, for the most part in the daylight. You can, your community, and you've done something. Somehow when I started, I immediately went from 50K thinking, okay, that's the next, check the box. I go to do the next one. But I'm settling down eventually. Now, is it the fun? One of the things I enjoy the most, because it's data. When I look at ultrasign up, am I reading this correct? That the first 100 miler you did was a little 100 miler in a place called Leadville, Colorado, and you did the Leadville Trail Marathon. Is that what happened?
That's what happened. Yeah, I did a 50K. I did a 50 miler down in Steamboat Springs, and then all right, let's do a 100 miler. And again, that was a male friend of mine who said, yeah, I did that, Gail. Do you think you can? What was your time?
2006, you're 52, and you finish at 29:36. So at that time, is it a 30-hour? I don't remember Leadville. 30. It's 30 hours. Okay.
Right. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to spare, but I wasn't worried about it. I knew I was going to finish it.
You finish in the magic hour. You finish in that last hour. How much training and planning did you do for that race? It looks like in June you went back and did the Bighorn 50 miler. And so in May you did the Rocky Mountain Double Marathon. In June you did the Bighorn Mountain Trail 50 miler, setting you up for August to do Leadville 100.
Yeah, so, I did.
Very deliberate.
I planned it very, very deliberate. A lot of people from Laramie told me, you're biting off more than you can handle. You shouldn't do this. Pick an easier one. Don't go this route. And I said, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to finish it. So I planned, and I spent a lot of time in Leadville over the summer, a lot of time camping out, a lot of time running those trails. And I knew what I was getting into pretty much by the time August rolled around. So it played out pretty much as I had planned. I was pretty much, I had my crew, I had my pacers, I had my diet down. I was very methodical. Now I'm pretty lazy about all that stuff, but then I was very methodical. Yeah,
52, you're dialed in. You'd been doing this for a minute, figuring things out with the trails. Yeah. And then, so it's March, run through time, April, Desert Rats, 25 miler, May, the double marathons, June.
I did the single marathon there, though.
But that's what it's called? Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 4:55. Yeah, that would have been pretty amazing. Nobody runs two marathons at 4:55. Yeah. So, okay, run the marathon and then Leadville. That's beautifully deliberate.
Yes.
And did you feel what was your sense? How was the sense of accomplishment after you did that? Because it was so deliberate. Like you nailed it.
I nailed it. I was happy. I was ecstatic. I had 3 different pacers for the second half. Each of those pacers gave me something very different. From one person sharing her life story with me, which was wonderful. The next one, there were so many mushrooms that night. As we were running along that section of the trail with her, there were all these mushrooms, and we made up stories about how these different mushrooms were going to kill us. So that was fun and exciting. And then the last section was a really good friend of mine. All 3 were really good friends. And the last section, we talked about a research project that we were doing. So it was fun. It was just, I felt very supported and very, very lucky to have that level of support. It was great.
So bravo. I haven't seen a story, a well-executed first time here. I'm going to do this. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it this way. And that's really beautiful. Have you tried to replicate that structure, that organization with other races after? Because that's been the last 20 years from then and now. It's 20 years. Do you try to do bigger races like that all the time, organized like that? Or was that a one-off in a way?
No, so I went back and did Leadville 2 more times, and I used the same plan, same structure. Actually, a lot of the same pacers, so that, and I was successful both of those times. So it is what I do. If I'm going to bite off something really big, I'm going to plan it out. I'm not going to go do it half
Measure, right?
Yeah.
So the second time you cut off almost, half an hour, and then the next time you were just a couple minutes later after that. So that's so much consistency. Good for you.
Yeah, it was good. And then I decided I was done with Leadville. They changed. That's when it changed to new management, new race director, and I liked the old, and I really like that hometown feeling. And that's one of the things I do is I try to support races that have that hometown feeling, that these are the runners who live here. They're putting the race on. They know what they're doing. And it's to me much more pleasurable. And I also give back. I'm going to volunteer. I volunteered at Mount Taylor. I volunteer at the local races. I do a lot of the planning for it, either as the volunteer coordinator or the search and rescue coordinator. I do that for the team, for the local races. But I like that feeling.
So let's talk about that identity and community. So where you really celebrated that, you really celebrated the Bighorn. So you love Bighorn, the way you described it was so perfect, beautiful, and you've gone back that a number of times. At some point you go from Wyoming and now you're in New Mexico, right? You're in New Mexico. So as you get to New Mexico, how does community show up for you now in New Mexico? Because if we look you up now, the easiest thing we find is how active you are in New Mexico and the running community in New Mexico. So you've probably by this point watched a lot of runners kind of come up in a few years, right? Because you've been running for a while. So you get to see people at different stages and you get to see them again. So what does community mean to you right now, and how has that morphed over time?
Well, I mentioned search and rescue a couple of times, and that kind of is
it's such a biggie. I was kind of trying to hold it off because you're also sitting there recuperating. So yeah, but you're in charge. You're the runner here. So let's do that. Well, I want to hear about search and rescue. Let's go hard in. But first, like what? How come you're sitting to the side here, Gail? What's going on? Somebody talk about that.
Yeah. So I've got my foot propped up because it was 2.5 weeks ago. Yeah. That was my search and rescue team. I'm on a canine team, so I have a couple dogs, and I'm training the dogs. And this is a team that a friend of mine and I just started up from scratch. So we're only about 6 months into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've got 12 members now. We've got 7 dogs. We're doing great. We're getting these dogs certified and ready to go. One of my dogs is certified for search and rescue. The other one is close to being certified.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're out, and it's a wilderness search and rescue. So we're out in the mountains, and somebody goes out and hides from my dog because we're training. And I'm set my dog off, tell her tally ho, go find this person, and off she goes. And she goes down this huge, what we call arroyos, but ditches, down this ditch. So I'm like, oh man, seriously, you're going to make me go down that thing? And she's, yes. She turns back and looks at me and says, come on. So okay. So I get down to the bottom and I'm like, I'm not going up that side. It's too steep. I'm going to go down, take the arroyo down for a little ways and find a gentler way out of here.
Yeah.
And as I did, there was a drop off. And I stepped down really hard and I broke my talus bone in my right foot. So, and that's the bone that sits just below the tibia and fibula. So it's the main support for your ankle. And when I broke it in half.
In that second, did you know this is
bad? I knew immediately, this is bad. This is way bad. I broke an ankle before and I said, this is bad, but I was 1.5 miles out. I was by myself and I said, I'm going to hike out. So I said, okay, I'm going to have to hike out on this. And I stood up and passed out and said, this obviously, I'm not hiking out on this. I cannot put any weight on it at all. So we carry radios. I get on the radio and
we got one. You're good on the radio and you said, I got one. You got one.
I got one. Hey team, you guys haven't practiced a rescue yet. Yeah, haven't carried anybody out yet. Okay, so I called the guy that's out there hiding from my dog, and I said, could you come back in and give him coordinates? Come back to such and such coordinate. Puts it in, and okay, I'll be right there, Gail. And then he gets there and says, uh-oh, we're in some trouble, aren't we?
Is your foot like, are you in trail shoes? What are you wearing such that you're, what are you wearing? What kind of shoes are you wearing?
Boots on. I actually have hiking boots on, but I'm also carrying like a 30-pound pack. So the extra weight of the pack. So yeah, get on the radio, call the rest of the team. Rest of the team comes in. Say, okay, how are we going to get her out of here?
Come on, people, you got to think on your feet. This is training.
Yeah, this is training. I was able to figure out a way to get me out of that Arroyo.
Wait, did you have to figure it out?
I did, yes, because they were all going, oh, what were
You're trying to they're trying to learn from you, so that's what you did. You taught them. Okay. Yeah. So how'd you get out?
So I just put my back to it and I butt scooched. I took my good foot and would move up a little bit. Somebody would put their foot in front of mine so it wouldn't slide down.
Okay.
And then two people would kind of pull. And I butt scooched, which is part of the funny story because I like funny stories. But I butt scooched up this soft dirt side and got up to the top. And then at that point, the firemen carried me out. So,
okay.
Another team that I was on was mainly women with search dogs. I would have been in trouble. We would have had to call 911 to get the whole team out for me. But because I like having a mix of men and women. Really appreciate that for many different reasons, but a lot that day because these two men were able to carry me out.
That's fantastic. So somebody grabs the pack, everybody's there. How many people are there in that incident as they're carrying you out? How many people are with you?
Probably 8.
Oh, what a story. What a learning opportunity. Yes. And what a leader. Are you kidding me? That is a great story.
You know, they did a fantastic job. Most of them were new to search and rescue. There were a couple of them who had some experience. But most of us were new, and most of them were new. And we just put our heads down. When the trail was too rough to go through it, carry me, they went through and broke trail. And it's a really nice concerted effort. And I'm so lucky I have them. They're great people, wonderful people.
So that's beautiful. How far were you in? Like how far? How far were you in? How far to come back in that instance?
It was only luckily we were about a quarter mile.
Okay.
If it had been 1.5 miles, we would have had to scramble to figure something else, and we might have had to call search and rescue. We might have had to get the other teams because we do litter carries. We they have this little thing that has great big wheel, and it's a basket, and that's how we carry people out. And we put them in this basket, the Stokes litter, on this great big wheel, and it takes about 12 people to haul somebody out in one of those.
Wow!
Because you've got to have 6 people on the litter itself. You've got to have brake line. You've got to have a pull line. And you rotate people in and out if it's a long carry. So my team has a train on that. My other team, I'm two different teams. The other team that I'm on, I'm trained on that. So we would have called them out. They would never have let me hear the end of it.
Right. So when I hear stories out on the trail, and I've had a handful of search and rescue people, including some people who did search and rescue for a long time, and they always reference like their consideration for whether or not they call it quits on a race when they're trying to figure out, am I injured or am I just, it's just in my head? Like when they make that balance, they always say, I do not want to have anyone expend time, energy, effort, and resources to come and get me because I made a selfish decision. Basically, that's how their search and rescue people are framing it. So you may have heard those stories before. I've never heard someone, Gail, say, oh, I'm going to start a search and rescue program. How did you come to that?
Yeah, so you've met Cliff Matthews.
Yeah.
Yes. So he was my mentor. He got me started into it. And then I eventually, I actually had to go out and rescue Cliff one day too. He got lost on a race. And so we all, it's all a small community here. But, and then I wanted to do it. I've mentioned dogs several times. I love my dogs. My dogs are very special, very important to me. They have helped me out of many a fix. But I wanted to use the dogs for search and rescue. So there was a team in town, but they do a lot of what they call human remains detection. I wanted Lifeline. I wanted dogs that are able to go find somebody while they're recently lost, not dead. So that's what we've been working on.
Is there a big community or a big need in, for example, New Mexico, maybe Wyoming? Maybe that's why is there a big need for that because New Mexico is remote? I never really thought of it that way, but that's part of what must drive this, right? You need search and rescue because there's human beings out there doing what humans do, and they get lost.
They get lost. They get injured. They get tired. They get cold. They get frostbite. We have to go out there and get them. Yes, in both Wyoming and New Mexico. And Colorado, it's huge. In California, it's big too. But a lot of times you have professional groups that will do it. In New Mexico, search and rescue is 100%. Well, there's one paid person, and everybody else is volunteer. And we have teams all across the state. And we like to, one of the things we do is we help out with races. Mount Taylor, for sure. Race coming up pretty soon is another one. And our dog team is going to support that one. But if there's something that goes on then, we want to be there. We want to be prepared. We want to help keep everybody safe.
How did Cliff find you? And Cliff Matthews, great storyteller, was great on the episode. And thank you. I thanked him. I said, who else is out there? You can't be just a unicorn. Who else? So thank you, Cliff, for that. But how did he kind of find you? And what was his pitch to you? Like, Gail, come on, we need this.
Yeah, so we were out running. And, he says, well, I do Cliff, I do search and rescue all the time. And we're always looking for new members. And Gail, you're really fit. You're really capable of doing this. What do you think? You want to come out? So I said, yeah, okay, let's try it. So I'm very susceptible to peer pressure, and he was my mentor, and I learned a lot from Cliff.
Perfect.
And I learned a lot about compassion from Cliff, too, about how hard it is. And not all of our searches turn out well. And I learned from Cliff just how big that is and how to take care of myself when that happens. So that's big. That's huge. And we all search and rescue folks have a story that we can tell. And mine, the big turning point for me was not as a dog handler. I was out there just as what we call ground pounder on Navajo land. And there was an 18-month-old boy who was lost. And that one did not turn out well. And I knew that if they'd had a trailing dog, it might have been a different story. So I've really devoted a lot of time to getting a trailing dog. So I have a trailing dog now.
It's clear that it's not a prerequisite, but the amount of and the type of humanity that you have to bring and compassion you have to bring to yourself and then to others is a mission critical if you're going to be in that search and rescue, right? It's going to be that. And so I think Cliff's vulnerability about those issues was he wears it on his shirt sleeve. So when I spoke with him, I'm like, because this is a guy with big crazy hair and he was this crazy man doing ultras with no shirt on. And what is his story? But ultimately, when you connect with people and you get to that level of humanity, search and rescue humanity, it's mission critical. When you are out there, you've had dogs, I assume, I'll guess, you've had dogs for decades, had many dogs for decades, right? And so when you came to understand maybe at that moment that, a trail dog would be really good to have, where you had dogs at that moment? And so you decided, I'm going to train these dogs to be trail dogs?
Right. Trailing dogs.
Trailing dogs. What's a trailing dog? Sorry.
Okay. So we have human remains dogs, avalanche dogs. And then the trailing dog is the dog that you think of a bloodhound putting their nose down and following the trail. Yeah, of where somebody went. The other one, so one of my dogs is a trailing dog, and she's the one that's certified, ready to go on missions. My other dog is an area search. So you don't have a SIN article. You don't know where the person was. They might be out in this big area. And so you take this 100 acres. This is your 100 acres. You go search it with your dog. And somebody else takes another 100 acres. And that's what I was training with that day was 40 acres. And my dog was out there. As soon as she smells a person, my job is to keep her downwind. So she's always working with the wind coming at her nose. And as soon as she smells it, she takes off and goes in. So that's what we're doing with this new canine team. It's our SART dog team.
While you're in the middle of training, are you going out on jobs or missions at the same time, or is training always completely separate from the actual work?
We schedule our trainings for almost every weekend. If we get called out, that takes precedent. If we get called, we go. So, and you
leave if the dogs aren't trained, you leave them home. I guess okay.
Yes, your dog has to be certified. They have to have met some standard in order to be what we call deployable, mission eligible. And if they haven't met those standards, they're going to cause more trouble than good by being out there, because we have to be able to trust our dogs. If I go out and there's an 80-acre area and I say my dog didn't find anybody, I have to be pretty daggone certain that nobody was in there. If somebody's in there and I say my dog didn't find anybody, then it's clear, and that person can still be in there. So you have to meet these high standards. You can't just take any dog out. Yeah.
Yes. Talk about that search and rescue mistakes, because what a high stress, high awareness, something about this as a volunteer to take on a challenge where lives are at stake.
Right.
Teamwork is critical. All of the tools have to work just right. It takes a special breed of person, though Cliff was casually, oh, come on, we need people. My gut says he read you and like, oh, no, we're sympathetic. Oh, we're out here running. She knows me. I know this person is, like, you should give it a try, Gail, right? So you're in. That's great. But what a responsibility. I don't have words, actually, right? This second, I don't have words, Gail, because I'm starting to wrap my head around that. Yeah. What a responsibility.
So the dogs have to be well-trained. The handlers have to be well-trained. The ground pounders have to be well-trained. So if I'm not on a dog team, if I'm on the ground team, I have to know how to work the litter. I have to know how to search. I have to know navigation. I have to know how to communicate. I have to know teamwork. So again, they're not allowed to go. We're not allowed to go out unless we're ready. And we have to be ready, not just have the background for it, but physically and mentally, we have to be ready to go. And if we're not, we don't go because we put other people at risk.
How do we ensure that? How do you maintain that? How do you know? Personally, what's your personal system to do it? But then also, what's the buddy check? How do you know that the people that you're going out there are okay that day?
Well, we have a little checklist actually that we
Okay.
all are supposed to use on ourselves, and we look to see what's been going on in our lives. What have we been doing? Have we had beer to drink with dinner that night? I can't go. And are we impaired in any way? Are we able? So we have to be able to assess ourselves, and the mental aspect is huge too, because I don't know if you want me to go into this, but I think it's
I do.
important.
I'm fascinated.
Yeah.
In fact, we need to know these things as runners.
Yeah. Yes. So I had been on this mission, as I mentioned, this 18-month-old boy did not survive. I went on a mission. Actually, I went with Cliff not long after that to another mission. It was a young girl, a 5-year-old, and we were out going to search for her. And they take us aside. Set our team down, all the teams down, and say, I want to let you guys know we are thinking now this is a recovery, not a rescue. In other words, we think we have evidence that this child has been hurt and is no longer alive. So they tell us at that point, look at yourselves right now. Are you ready to do this?
Wow.
And I looked at Cliff and I said, I'm not. I cannot do this. It's too fresh from this other one. I'm going home. And he said, good. And nobody gave me a second glance. I said, I need to excuse myself. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going home. And they all said, fine, that's great. Well, 2 days later, they called us back out. I said, okay, I'm ready. I'll go back out. And I wasn't on the team that found the body, but I was within shouting distance of the team who did. But I had to check myself. I cannot go if I'm going to be a mess. If I'm going to mess up my my team, I got to be aware of that. So, as trail runners, we're out there all the time, and we put ourselves at risks. We know we do that, especially if we're by ourselves. I carry a spot, one of those emergency personal beacons. Phones now are really good, but we're at risk. And it's easy to think, well, I'll just call 911 or I'll just have somebody come get me. It's important to know what all goes into that. First of all, it's going to take them hours to get there because you got to get the team ready. They've got to deploy. They've got to get to the site. They've got to go out. And then it's, you're taking people away from their jobs, from their homes, from their kids. And you should always do it. If you need help, you should call. Always. And New Mexico is free. They will never charge you. Because if you put that possibility of, I'm going to have a big, huge bill, people might not do it. So it's important that people make that call so we can get it if we need to.
That's a thing I didn't, first of all, what that means the system worked. The fact that they called you together and you had the opportunity, nope, I'm out. You have to, that means that system works because everybody needs you to be on your A game. And so you get an opportunity to say, and not A game, but everybody has the opportunity to say, nope, I've got to step aside for now. And obviously the system worked. But I didn't think about that, I guess, but I have, and now I've had an ambulance and I didn't ask for it, but of course I had to pay for it eventually. So search and rescue is the same in some places, I suppose.
In some places, a lot of places will say, if it's frivolous, we may charge you. New Mexico will not ever do that. I mean, even, somebody says they're tired, they don't want to go on anymore. They know that they call 911. They say, I'm having chest pain. We're going to go. We get to them and they're just tired. They're not having chest pain. Okay. Doesn't matter. We do it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Aside from that survey where you said, okay, now this is going to change.
Doesn't matter.
Potentially. So let's make sure you're ready to do this and continue forward, and you were able to opt out. Aside from that specific example, and then you have this checklist that you have to go through every time to go through. Do you meditate? Like, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because that's a lot. And you have dogs, and now the dogs are caring for you. Then you're responsible for teams now. And you're able to train your teams, including 2 months ago when you said, come on back, I got a job for you, as you scooched up your butt up that hill. Do you meditate? How do you take care of your mind-body connections with all, knowing that you could go you could be called up anytime, right?
I run.
Wow, there we go. I forgot.
It really is. That's what I do. I don't meditate. I don't. That's my me time, and I need it. It connects me to nature, and it connects me to people in some strange way. But
beautiful, of course. What surprises you about yourself as a runner?
Doesn't matter. I'm equally surprised by how slow I've gotten and how much longer it takes to recover, but equally that I can still do this. And so it's like, am I at glass half full or half empty today? Today I can do this. This is great. I'm great. I'm loving it. And then, wow, it takes a lot more. I have to be more cautious about where I go. I'm not nearly as reckless as I used to be. Doesn't matter.
Isn't that wisdom, Gail? I think that's what happens. Be careful. If you grow old, you get wise. That's what happens, yes. I think. When's the last time you were up on a climb or you were doing a thing? It could be this morning, whatever. But the last time you were somewhere and you're like, in the moment in your head, you're like, I can't believe I'm still doing this. Like, I'm happy, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Just about every day I go out. And I remind myself, even because I'm laid up right now, I can't go. And I've been laid up before and haven't been able to go because of broken ankles and stuff. I don't always, but I try to remember, I am so lucky. I am so lucky that I can do this. And especially after coming out of that ER experience and seeing everybody in there and just having so many of the care providers say, oh God, you're so mobile. This is so great. You can do this. You're in great shape. Because that's not what they're used to seeing.
Right.
And whether it's my age or people a lot younger, doesn't many people can do this. And I am so happy that I can. And so lucky that I can. And I try not to ever take that for granted.
Self-awareness is mission critical, and clearly you have that. But I think does it ever surprise you? Here's one. Does it ever surprise you that people look at you and just like those ER workers looked at you and they were just happy? They're happy to see a human being out there being mobile. Like, oh man, this is a good one. Like, look at her, she's going.
Yeah.
So does it ever surprise you when you or when people look at you younger than you? Usually, I suppose statistically they're going to be younger than you. You're like, God, how do you do it? You're inspiring. Do you get that vibe from people?
What? Yes, and I oftentimes I'll meet up with somebody during a long event or a hard event, and they'll say, God, I want to be like you when I get old. And I say, I've got 2 comebacks for that now. It took me a long time to figure it out. One of them is, you better start training now.
That's one.
Yeah. Oh, God, I can't remember the other one.
All right.
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
mainly, yeah, you better start training now. And
That's good.
because if
What?
you put it off, you got to do it now. You got to put in the time.
Um, 72 with your foot propped up and, giving me all these great little wisdom nuggets here. This is great. Talk about some old injuries. Do you have any good stories about like, oh, the last one time I broke my other ankle or when the first time I broke my ankle, you said that one and you stood up and passed out. Do you have any other running injury, stories?
That, no, I've been stitched up a few times. One of them was, that was a good one too. The mile 24 of a 25-mile race in Colorado. And I hit just wrong. And there was a sharp rock and it just slit the outside of my calf open.
Oh my God.
It was like that long. And I'm like, I think I'm going to need some help here. And there's some bikers around. There were 3 mountain bikers. And I said, hey guys, I think I might need some assistance. And one guy came over and looked at it. He passed out. The other guy had to help him.
No, really?
Yes.
Was your muscle exposed? Was the leg exposed or something like that?
Oh yeah, the muscle was exposed.
Oh my
It was
God.
deep. It was deep.
And you're all relatively chill, however, at least in this
Yeah,
story,
I'm
you're
trying to
relatively
be
chill.
chill.
And he comes over, he's got his little bike helmet on, and comes over and he goes,
Guy grabs him, takes him, sits him down. And so the third guy has a first aid kit on him, pulls it out and wraps me up and sends me off. They hiked me down to the nearest road. Very nice of them. And got a ride back and went to the ER. Like in a
24 miles into a 25-mile race.
I was so mad.
Oh, I bet.
That race.
I bet.
But
I bet that leg, I bet it was there's a lot of blood in part because you're so pissed off that, right?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, and here's one for you that I didn't know. Your major veins all run on the inside of your legs, not the outside. So they're pretty well protected. So on that outside of my leg, there was blood, but not like you would expect because everything runs on the inside. That's interesting, isn't it?
That's very cool. So in fact, people did see the muscle. You look like an anatomical, you look like one of those things in a classroom, and the guy with the bike rider just freaks out because that's your leg there underneath that.
So.
Oh man, so got stitched up. Okay, no medal that time. Good story though.
Oh, I did get Best Blood Award.
You get what?
Best Blood Award.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah, race director had a sense of humor.
That's a good one. Did you go back to that race?
I did.
See that? Ladies and gentlemen, that's what happened. You get a good race director.
Yeah. Yes.
Talk about that. Talk about race directors, and you have I have a list here of the things Taylor. You've gone to many of these races. You've gone 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and you've done them a lot because you've been running for years. So how do you pick your races? Clearly, you already said earlier that has changed now that, over time you changed what you're done with the Leadville, done with the 100-milers, but how do you pick your races? And is the race director, the organization itself, an important part of that process?
To me, it is a very big part. And I don't want to say anything bad about other race types, but for me it is is it local? I like local races. Is this a race director that I've worked with before? Maybe he's expanded into other areas and it's not really local, but I really like this guy. I know he's going to put on a good race. Does it benefit a group? Like I was talking Mount Taylor, the money, it's a sacred mountain to the Navajos. The money goes to a group called Navajo Yes, which is Youth Empowerment Services. That everything they make is going to go back to the Navajo Nation. That is huge to me. I don't have anything against people making money off races, but it's just what I choose to do. And I much prefer the small the races that have a benefit to somebody. Yeah, I do a lot of other races too, but they don't hold the same. And it's funny. I went up to a race in Wyoming a couple of years ago, and it was a local race. This one guy, local race for the racers, by racers, that kind of thing. It's not a commercial race. And I didn't know anybody there, but I was just watching all the people who know each other, and it's all a big community, and I love that feel. And for Mount Taylor is that way for me. I get to go. Everybody at the aid stations knows me, but this was their race, and they welcomed me to it. And it was a really good experience. So,
That's beautiful. I recently spoke with a lawyer named, he was a guest on the podcast called Troy Ide. He's a Colorado lawyer, and he works, but he spends a lot of time with Native groups, and he works in the Navajo Nation a lot. And his races, because Navajo Nation doesn't have their races all on Ultra Sign Up, you never even heard of them really. And they're just beautiful. And
I've done a lot of those races.
Okay.
On the Navajo Nation. Yeah, they have a Navajo Nation Park Series. And I've done a lot of those. And I've actually gone over to help design one of the courses. And it's great. And part of me feels like this is their land, I shouldn't be there. But the other part is they welcome people. They are great hosts and hostesses. This is their land. They want to show it off. And they've got a real big resurgence of running on the Navajo Nation now. It's really great.
I got stuck in a silo and didn't even realize it was in a silo with Ultra Sign Up and even Run Sign Up. And so I heard about Troy and looked at his accomplishments, and the imagery from those races is just mind-blowing. And I really want to go participate myself.
Oh, they're wonderful. And you get to go places that non-natives don't get to go without a guide. And and you better be a good steward when you go. So, take care of everything. Leave it better than you found it. So.
Right. Talk about that for a moment. What about leave no trace, etc.? In the races you've been to, have you seen people's conduct on the trails get better, become more mindful, or less mindful? As more people come to trail running, that means there's more human beings. And statistically, that would tell us, give one answer, but my heart and hope might be something different. So talk about that. Is that change, you think? You notice people being more mindful, less mindful?
I see mainly really good behavior. I very seldom see trash on the course. People go off trail if they have to, and they cover it up and they take it out. I'm proud to be part of the group. Every now and then I see the other, but not very often. And I hate headphones.
On the trails, yeah. You're not. I'm not triggering you. You're not being triggered right now, are you? Because I'm wearing headphones.
No.
Okay.
When you try to pass somebody or when somebody's not wearing it, in the foothills where I run, you don't wear headphones in the summer because you want to hear those rattlesnakes.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. And I take them with me all the time. They're around my neck. And now it's almost like not a safety belt. It's not a safe, but there's some kind of, it's not a tick either, but it's some kind of I don't know. I just have them with me all the time, and I never, ever, ever use them. And it's almost like it's part of the kit. Makes me feel comfortable. I have these little things that they strap around my neck, but they're just sitting there, and I never ever put them on. And now that I'm doing it and demonstrating it, I'm realizing maybe I should reevaluate that decision because I just don't use them. So why am I taking them? I don't know. But I think it's important to not be distracted when you're out there running for your own safety, and then also for the community. You're really, when you're removing yourself from the community when you put on headphones, because you're saying, I'm out there for myself. I don't want to.
Yeah, if you only have one in and you can still hear, but if I'm coming up on somebody, I'm going to pass them and I have to actually tap them on the shoulder to get their attention. That kind of is aggravating.
Yeah.
I don't pass that many people anymore, so.
I think these are, I stop wearing the ones that go in your ear. So these are bone conduction, and they go over the ear, but my ear is still available. So I wear them on the street, but I can still hear the traffic and I can hear everything. And, so I wear them then, but, yeah. I haven't
overall,
noticed.
I think trail runners are pretty polite, pretty considerate, pretty conscientious about picking up. Like.
I hope so. I'm hopeful that that's true. I think the more remote we get, the lesser the chances there are for us to be encountering people anyway, necessarily. So that's good. And I do, on these longer races and runs, I'm still concerned a little bit about people not using or using wag bags or not using them. They're not actually carrying out everything. And, but we know more and more people are doing it. And I think that's good, because that tells me more and more people have gotten over the very single first hurdle that said, I can't run. And when they say that, they're saying it because they imagine themselves on the street or on the sidewalk, and it's just not not fun, not something. And I told my friend once, after running a couple of road marathons, I thought, I enjoy this, but I think that the specific thing I told him was, there's a big difference. I can feel the difference when I'm running on asphalt versus running on the concrete sidewalk. I can feel it. It's just, it's different. I can feel some in my bones. And then he looks at me and said, you ever hear about trail running? I'm like, no, what's that? He's like, when you run out in nature and you're not on the street or the sidewalk, it's softer. I'm like, oh, that's a thing? Yes, show me that. So, somebody has to make the suggestion to us that, oh, you know what? You should try this thing. Yeah. Gail, you're pretty fit. I think you might like this. You ever heard of search and rescue? Come on, give her a try.
Let's go do this.
Let's go do this. Let's go do this thing. What keeps you coming back now? Like, what's a good run mean to you now?
Hopefully it's one where I can kind of get lost in my own head. To where nothing's really bothering me, nothing is hurting me. I am just out there and I lose track of time. I don't want to turn around. I don't want to go back. I want to see what's around the next bend. And that's a great run. I try to get to different places. In the winter, there aren't that many places for you to run around here because it gets all icy or snowy or muddy. So I stay in the foothills. I do the same run again and again and again. But still, there's something around that turn. I don't know what it is, but it could be a bird. It could be a snake. It could be a herd of deer. But something that just I'm not going to get that sitting on the couch.
Do you still set goals, running goals?
I do. And, all my goals, all my races right now have been put on hold because this broken. It's going to be a long recovery.
Will this be the longest? Was this the worst break ever? This one?
Yeah, I've had surgery on both of my heels because Achilles problems where they had to shave off bone and then reattach the Achilles.
Oof.
Those are long recoveries. Those are about 6 months, but those were at least planned. This is not planned, and it could, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it won't be as bad as I think, but probably like it may be 6 months before I'm running again. And 6 months when you're 72, well, that's a long time in dog years. That's a long time in old person years.
Are
Yeah,
you able to are you on one of those little knee scooters, or like how are you getting around right
so
now?
I have a knee scooter and that kind of works, and I have crutches and that kind of works. But this, this, this is a long story. I'll make it short. This guy passed me one time at Mount Taylor, and coming into the finish line, going downhill. This man passed me, and I'm thinking, "Oh, you don't do that." But he drew up short, and he said, "I'm not going to do that. I don't do that. You go ahead. You've been ahead of me this whole time." And he stayed back and let me finish and made sure he wasn't even in the finishing picture. This is a guy, so I got in touch with him afterwards. I said, "I don't know you, but I know who you are, your name, because you finished right behind me. I really want to thank you." So we have remained really friends. He just ruptured his Achilles tendon, and he was on Facebook, and he's on this funny thing called an I walk. I walk. And it looks like a peg leg, but you put your knee into this little groove thingy, and it's like a peg leg. You can walk, you got your hands free, you can go up and down stairs. So I watched him do that, and I say, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to buy me one of those." So I have an I walk. You'll have to
Okay.
look it up. It's a really
Yeah,
strange
no,
thing. It looks like a peg leg.
yes, I know, I do know. One of my daughters broke her ankle a number of months ago, and now I'm remembering she didn't get that. She would use some other thing, but I remember that. I think I stumbled on it like, "Oh, check this out. You should do this." And he's like,
Yeah.
so, okay, so that's cool. I love
have
that he did. I love that he pulled up and like let you go, because what's the point, right? Why not? And
Right.
that decision about the prioritizing community is what that guy did. He's like, what? Like you said, like if he said to himself, "I'm not that guy. What am I doing?" Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
I did a finish. I slowed down to help was with a group of people, and they were doing a 50K, and I was doing the 50K, and I never was in during a race was talk to people actually. So I was talking and chatting them up, and one woman was coaching another who was doing it for the first time, and it was great. And I, in my head anyway, we agreed like, well, let's cross the finish line together. It's going to be exciting. Cool. Let's do that. And as we were approaching the line or whatever, I for a half a second, I pulled to the side and I took a selfie, and I had my camera with me, and I was shooting something, and I looked, and before I knew it, they were way down the road. I'm like, "Oh, that's not right. Like, what? Come on, guys, what's happening?" But it's fine. They finished, and I finished. It was fine. But for miles, it was like a plan. And then the last minute, I guess it wasn't the plan anymore.
Yeah, I think you see the finish line, you're that close, and you lose the polite gene doesn't kick in.
It's not
But I
like we
was
were
so
at the
glad.
podium either, so nobody's at the podium.
Yeah,
But-
right.
All right. Nobody's going to believe when they're looking at you. Nobody's going to believe that you're your age and as mobile as you are. They're just not. So, but hopefully, I'm going to have some people looking at this video, looking at this interview, and they're going to be like, "Man, that's something." And I think, you know what? I always thought maybe I should try something like that. Now, this person I'm talking about, they're in their 60s already, or maybe even 70. And they haven't actually done this because who knows what they've told themselves after all these years. So how about this? If someone's thinking about starting or starting again, what do you want them to understand that maybe, no one told you?
Well, I think it's more prevalent now, but back when I started, nobody told me that walking was okay. And that another thing nobody told me was that you get stuck in a little, okay, I'll do 3 miles, I'll do 3 miles. And then when you decide somehow that you do 4 miles, it feels better than the 3 did. So a lot of times just breaking through a little barrier actually feels better than you had ever thought it would. And it's all about, it's about getting out there and being with yourself. If you run with people all the time, you don't have to be with yourself. But if you run by yourself, it's being with yourself, and that's a good thing.
The other thing, because they've been with us now for an hour or so, they're looking over your shoulder and like, those aren't running medals. Like, what kind of awards are you getting back there, Gail? What you doing over there?
Those are my dog's agility medals. So I do agility with the dogs in addition to doing search and rescue with them. And they're my running companions. So these dogs are used to running maybe 40, 50 miles a week. They're used to going to agility a couple times a week. They're used to going to search and rescue training. And now they're just sitting around because I can't get out.
I bet they're freaking out. What are the dogs doing? First, how many dogs do you have and what are they doing?
I have 2, and they're Rhodesian Ridgebacks, so they're big dogs. They're great running companions. Thankfully, a really good friend I said I run with sometimes, she also has a couple Rhodesian Ridgebacks. She's been coming over and taking my dogs out for runs.
Okay.
Because they are not fit to be around in the house if they don't get their exercise.
I bet, especially if they're agility masters and all that. What is agility? What does agility mean? Like steeplechase, or like what is agility for
They
a dog?
go up ramps and down ramps. They go over jumps. They run through tunnels. They do all these silly things, but they have to do it in the sequence that the handler has to tell them where to go. So it's a whole lot of obedience, but it's a whole lot of just being paired with your dog. And they're pretty good at it. One of them's better than the other one, but we do a lot of agility. And
Okay.
it keeps them fit. It keeps them moving. It keeps their joints. It's not just running for them or me, because I have to go out there and run too. And that's another thing, is I can't take them right now. And but yeah. So it keeps them in good shape for running and for search and rescue.
What a well put together family you've got right there, right? That is, man, that's what it is. It's beautiful. When you look ahead, thank you for being on the show today. I really love this, Gail. I've learned a lot. Thank you again, Cliff, for thinking about Gail and bringing so much to the table. Do you think about how long you're going to keep doing this, or is that not even part of the equation?
I do. I think about it a lot. And I always say, one bad step can finish your running career. And I hope this one didn't, because it was just one bad step. I think I'll come back from this. I don't know how long I'll be able to do it, but as long as I can, I want to.
Are you ever in pain when you Okay. Are you in pain when you run or anything like that? Or like in general, do you have to take a lot of pills or anything like that just to stay? Okay. See?
I take some every now and then. Every now and then a knee starts to hurt, a hip starts to hurt.
Sure.
Tylenol does the trick, and taking a little bit of time off, and I have to take more time off now. But we lost our running community lost an 82-year-old runner last year, and that was a big hit. But he had done 100-miler in Arizona, those, I don't know, race across time or something like that, where you
across the years. Yeah. Across the years.
He'd done 100-miler in December, January 1st, and he died in February.
Oh,
that's how I want it to happen, but not this year.
Yeah, but not today.
Not today. Today is not that day.
Well, I can see Gail to at least 103 or 4, because Gail's going to get to 100, and then you don't want to just drop over then either. So that's what I'm thinking. You get to 100, have a couple good stories, and then you've done it. You've done a lot. Done a lot. All right, Gail. This has been such a joy.
It's been fun.
Good. Thank you. Your foot still feels okay. You didn't get more injured during this hour of this conversation.
I've
See?
got it elevated. That's good.
Okay. Gail Leedy, we're going to see you out on the trails, even if we have to wait
Okay.
for months for that to happen. Okay.
It may be months.
Thanks, Gail.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
All right.